Hello, hello.
Hey.
I am Daniel P. Riley of Whimsyland Literary Coaching and Services, and this is the new Iron Age Knights IAKPodcast. I am joined, yes, you found it. Good job. I am joined by Justin of EvaleighMusic and Andrew the Animated Moon. And today we are going to talk about Alpha Dogs number 5 with the creator John Dexter. Justin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Been just working
Awesome.
on things, always chipping away at this and that and keeping
Yeah,
busy. And so, yeah, it's good to be busy, work. It's good to work. So,
for sure. Even when it's overloading you, like it always overloads me.
That's the default, isn't it?
Exactly. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing all right. Speaking of being overloaded, I got a lot on my plate. Been kind of slow as of late, so hoping, but next week I'll be able to get a bit more done. But overall, been going good. Been getting stuff
good
done.
deal.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely feel you there. Between fighting off the crud and getting everything set up for the new show, plus my usual stuff for Whimsyland and writing my own books and things, it's like I said to my daughter, it's good that you're going to get to go out and have fun this weekend because I'm going to be working. At least one of us gets to live.
Send pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody forgive me for my voice. I'm still fighting off the crud. But we are here to talk with John Dexter about Alpha Dogs number 5 on Kickstarter. I'm going to bring that up here
Yeah,
in just a sec.
and thanks for having me on your inaugural show. I feel honored.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Wanted to kick things off, and this is a really good opportunity. Your campaign's got 19 days to go. You've already hit $3,000, which is pretty nice. But there's still time for people to get in on it, and I hope we can get you some more sales.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a really exciting story. If anybody's a dog lover or even a comic book fan, any fan, I think you'll enjoy it. It's very different than anything you're going to see on the shelves. It's got even though it's has dogs with these, talking with each other with their own individual powers. It's very grounded comic book series that is very serious, and people really enjoyed it. It's enabled to garner a publisher here about 6 months ago, so that's really cool that people are really enjoying enough to be published. It's going to be February 25th. It gets released through Amazon, Barnes and Noble. People can pre-order right now, but it'll be in people's hands on February 26th. But you can order it on Amazon, Target.com, Simon & Schuster, major bookstores. But hopefully you go to the Kickstarter because I'm going to be using the funds from the trade to go into this new issue of Alpha Dogs.
Nice. So, well, tell us a little bit about the project itself. I mean, I know it's dog centered, and I gotta say that image right there at the beginning of your trailer, which we'll try to watch in a minute, is my favorite because it evokes both superheroes and the great thing about dogs, their attentive watchfulness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so Alpha Dogs is about this dog that has the ability to heal from any wound. He's smart enough to understand human speech, and he has a heightened strength. Him and his owner are on the run from mercenaries that are attempting to kidnap him to manipulate his powers. So poor Buck and his owner and this older, grumpier pit bull who shares in Buck's abilities have been on the run their whole lives in hiding. And then one day, their owner brings home her boyfriend, which is, a major breach of confidence because the whole dog's lives, their owner has never brought anybody to them and divulged the secret of the dog's abilities. But she's lived a very lonely life being on her own with the dogs, and she gets manipulated by this guy and tells him of the dog's powers. But little does she know, he already knows of the dog's abilities and has created this serum that once in possession of a sample of their blood, he can create his own dogs with their own distinct abilities. So it's got a lot of mystery to it, a lot of adventure. So a little bit of heartbreak too, with the dog being, kind of betrayed by his owner. So it's a fun story, but it's very much grounded in a realistic setting. If you can be as much with dogs with powers that talk to each other.
That's really cool. You guys want to watch the video?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully the sound quality is decent enough.
One thing that really kind of standing out to me is a bit of the production value you got going on here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got a good team. I was lucky enough to just find them on Facebook. I was looking for, artists. They answered the call. They were just so much better than everybody else that I jumped at the chance to hire them for the series.
It seems like you got. Yeah, no, it's kind of sounds like an unusual story to me. Seems like a kind of a perfect meaning there.
Yeah. That's kind of stories.
People that jump out into like they go on X or Facebook and they're like looking for artists, and then their mailbox is bombarded for the next.
Yeah, definitely.
I've sent one or two of those emails.
Using AI for everything, so it's pretty awesome. You just went on there and happened to find a good team without all that other nonsense in the mix. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had these guys since 2021. We've been a great team. They did my Dime Store Detective comic books as well. It's a supernatural crime mystery you can get on this campaign as well. So I've been with them since 2021. We've put out, this will be the 11th title we've done.
Wow.
Nice.
It's pretty good work rate then. You guys are getting books out, right?
Yeah, the artist, Fernando Malik, he's amazing. He's done work for Marvel and DC. He's great. I got a great colorist. He's actually just did a Lady Death not that long ago, too.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember checking out Dime Store Detective. That was nice.
Oh yeah, it's getting just more and more popular, and that's going to actually be signed once it becomes a graphic novel, because the publisher, they just do graphic novels, so that'll be published as well through where you get it on Amazon and all other major bookstores.
Would you say that's what you're working towards with Alpha Dogs as well, as a kind of graphic novel experience?
Yeah, Alpha Dogs is a graphic novel right now that people can get on the Kickstarter. It's the first 4 issues, that first chapter of the story that you can currently get on Kickstarter, on Amazon, or Barnes & Noble. It'll be, like I said, it'll be released in stores on February 26th.
Now, obviously, whenever you go through Kickstarter, as you mentioned before, but is it common for indie creators to be on these major outlets, or is that a process to go through? What's that like?
2% of comics actually get a publisher, so it's kind of a testament that the story is, very original and exciting for people.
So do you just have to submit it and just say like, hey, check this out, and you're one of the 2% that they're like, this is good stuff, we need to have this in our...
Well, it's basically hard work meets opportunity. I had sent out to publishers, hadn't heard anything back, and then I just happened to run in to someone that works for Source Point Press. They had read my comics, they liked them a lot, and asked me if I was interested in submitting, so I did, and it took about 6 months, and then finally got back and through that process. It's kind of a process to get in stores. A little bit of work, mostly on their end, but you kind of have to deliver.
I can imagine. Is there a lot more a lot more pressure with the publisher then? I would
Yeah,
imagine.
kind of. I mean, it's kind of on you to promote it, so you basically work in 2 jobs, whatever you do to actually make money, because nobody really makes money in comic books unless you're, a big name. So, hopefully that is what happens as it gets out in stores. I mean, this is kind of going to be a Wi-Fi opportunity for my comic books to get out in more of the mainstream a little bit, and hopefully more bookstores. You kind of got to do the work yourself, but if it's your dream, then you put the work in.
Now, do you have
That's
the
true.
publisher, like you get a phone call coming in, you're like, the publisher, what do they want? You pick it up like, hey, kid, we love your book. Great book you're making over there. But issue 6, we need to get some cats in here. Our guys are doing some surveys. Dogs are out.
No, it's creator owned. So you're basically, it's all up to you. You put the money into to do the comic books, and then hopefully, they pick them up and you do well.
Okay.
But a lot of it's your own, sweat equity you're putting into it.
Gotcha.
For sure. Not much.
They
different
basically
from
give you.
movies here.
Yeah, everybody always says to make it into a movie, and it's like, well, that's quite a simple process as you think to get a movie made.
And it looks like you can get issues 1 through 5. Is this physical format for $50? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, it's only $50. I try to cut people a deal to catch up on the old ones. So I keep it as low as I can, or you can get the graphic novel, and the graphic novel is all 4 issues, but there's a bonus story in the graphic novel that's not in the singles, because I wanted, you wanted people to come back, so you can't just have the same issues to buy again. So I put a bonus story in the graphic novel. It's not in the issues, but the issues are beautiful in themselves.
Very cool. And you can get issues 1 through 5. You get a signature on there too. It looks like for an extra $9. I like little things like that. I've paid extra money whenever it's reasonable to get a signature.
Yeah, exactly. Your name's in the if you get the one where I sign, it's only $2 extra, and you get your name in the comic book as well as under the thank you page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to see it's your name in the comic book. I think it's kind of neat. I always enjoy it.
For sure, yeah. You're a part of the book in some little way, which I think is neat. And I was going to point out too, one of the other rewards here is there's one you can get a picture of your dog drawn.
Yeah, and you can see the samples on there. I mean, the artist does a fantastic job. That's some of the samples you can see on there that he's done before for the past Kickstarters.
Yeah, I love things like that. This is something about indies that is really cool that I've never seen it on, like the big guys, so to speak, because how would you, it's the kind of thing though, you can have the actual artist from the book you're reading create an image of your pet, and you have that personal connection to a lot of this. If you got the money and it would make a cool gift for somebody or just something to have in your house, I really like those options. I thought there was one in here too as well. Isn't there one where you can get your own dog put into one of the books? Am I remembering this?
Yeah, you can have it drawn in, but those have already been taken. Unfortunately for people, that's I only had 3 opportunities for that, and they were all bought up pretty quickly. So that was great that the tier was fulfilled. But there's a lot of other great tiers too.
Oh, for sure.
On there that you can get.
Is that something you're going to do again moving forward? Obviously, it got fulfilled, so it's successful.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I'm gonna do in probably issue 6, and is have that opportunity for people, because they get a big kick out of it to have your dog in the comic book.
Oh, for sure. It's $200 on here, but to have your dog in a book, like, again, that's really cool, even if it's just for yourself or even as a gift or something. I love and that kind of idea, and that's the kind of thing, like I was saying, you couldn't do it with the big guys. You're not going to get that kind of opportunity, so that's a really cool aspect.
Yeah, it's very not too many people make dog books anymore. But luckily, Stray Dogs was such a big hit, and it was a great story that it kind of, I think, helped open up a opportunity for people, because I'm seeing more and more dogs in books now since then. So that's kind of neat.
I actually wanted to ask about that, like what kind of went into inspiring this story, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably not a cat guy. I was curious if there was any kind of real world inspiration, or just other places that a story that's created that this kind of came from.
So we lived in a town that outlawed pit bulls, and we had a pit bull mix named Pig. So we weren't going to get rid of our dog, of course. So we moved. And that inspired me to create this story about this dog that's feared by the public because of his breeding size, but he actually has a huge heart. It's kind of like, the Casper the Friendly Ghost, story that's, prejudiced against, well, he was a ghost, but this is a dog that, people have this misconceptions about the breed sometimes. So I wanted to kind of shine a light on the dog, and not just that, but, people that, kind of get prejudiced against, not even knowing them, no matter, where they are or where they're from.
Okay.
Wow. So you actually had to leave town in order to keep your dog because of this legislation, I guess, that got passed. Now, was this like, were you living in this place for a long time? And did you have a lot of time to move? Was it like, hey, you got that dog, you have 6 months to get out? Like that?
Yeah, we were gonna wait around. We just decided, because of this, talking about it, and the kind of people against that breed, that we weren't going to take any chances. We just hopped up, put our house for sale, and left. We lived there about 4 years. We were
Oh my gosh.
transplants ourselves because we're from Michigan. We ended up moving back to Michigan. So it was just one of those things that we weren't going to, take any chances of losing our dog, of course, because he's, dogs, they become part of your family. So we just popped up and left.
Man, in 4 years, that's like it. I mean, having to move is a hassle and a headache.
Yeah, it is.
Apartment or something, but 4 years, you're getting roots down at that point. That's like, this sounds like a story in of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was, but like I said, our dog, we had him for almost 14 years. He actually passed when I was doing Alpha Dogs issue 4. So there's a nice tribute page for him at the end of issue 4. He was really special to us. So I wanted kind of the comic to be continuing his memory, being if you look at the main character, Buck, he's modeled, and you can see that on the Kickstarter. Him sitting next to me, where he's modeled after our Buck, the main character of the series.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, that's a cool story.
Yeah, it's a real fun story. People have really been enjoying it. There's a lot of mystery to it. Like, the main mystery is how the dogs got their powers in the first place. And then we have these other mysteries of why this villain of the story is trying to create dogs with their own individual powers for his revenge plot he has. We kind of figure that out in issue 5. So, and then you have the owner, and kind of there's the theme of abandonment with the dogs, or, mom brings a new stepdad in, and the kids kind of get pushed aside. And so there's themes of, abandonment for dogs and people in the story as well. But there's still a lot of action, of course. And, it's an adventure story. It's kind of like X-Men, but with dogs, some of the dogs can turn invisible. Some has a heightened intelligence, and other kind of cool superpowers we reveal as we go along in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's got to be kind of a selling point as well, as is what's the next dog that's going to come along? What crazy power is it going to have?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of show don't tell. So there's not narration in the comic book. I kind of let the panels tell the story as we move along the page. I think it's a much more entertaining part of storytelling.
Absolutely.
Certainly for a visual medium like comics, that's one of my gripes with a lot of I guess modern comics, if you will. Too many words or what have you. The art should tell the story, and that's what I'm seeing here, which is really cool. Yeah,
a lot of the indie guys, they don't. Sometimes I think mess up a little bit, in my opinion. How they a lot of times there's a lot of exposition, a lot of telling you what their heroes can do, their powers, instead of just showing you. So I think that's one of the entertaining aspects of my comics and why people kind of enjoyed them. I'm a big proponent of, showing, don't tell. That I think is somewhat lost at times with comic books.
Yeah, not only that, but this particular book, it's dogs. Physicality is how they communicate. So it's even more important.
I believe so too, yeah.
Have you found that to be kind of challenging when you're writing these stories, having to kind of think outside the box how these dogs are going to like play out a scene and stuff like that? Is it a little bit unusual?
Hopefully, if you write long enough, and I've been writing for longer than I like to admit, the story kind of talks to you, it comes naturally. So I don't really honestly have to sit too much. I mean, the only part of the real challenge is to make sure it doesn't sound hokey, because they are dogs talking to each other, but at the same time, give them that suspension of disbelief that they're going to enjoy it and not kind of, scratch their head.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a dynamic in your story where the dogs can understand the humans, but they can't communicate with the humans, and the humans can't understand the dogs, correct?
Correct. It'd be kind of weird if you're, reading the story and the dog's perfect, speaking perfect English. That might be a little. So
I wonder. Some people I think see that and they're immediately like, "I'm out," and this book is not like that. But I also like to imagine the dogs talking to each other and the people watching, and the dogs are just barking, to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Conversation and all this.
Yeah, because the dogs can understand humans, but the humans obviously can't understand the dogs, or it'd be kind of. I mean, make it easier, but I think people would kind of check out. You got to keep it somewhat believable with these dogs communicating. You really don't need them because almost all stories, humans don't understand the dogs anyway. So.
Oh yeah, and that presents a lot of storytelling potential as well, because if you can't communicate with the other characters, the humans in the world, that presents challenges that the dogs then have to work around and that sort of thing. So I think that's interesting, narratively speaking.
Well,
yeah, I think it makes it more entertaining.
Yeah, not just that, the reader is intimately involved in what's going on in a level that the other humans in the story cannot be. So it creates a deeper engagement, I think.
Yeah, I believe so too.
I love too. I mean, if you have the dogs and they can talk to each other, obviously as the reader, you got to have those human elements in the dogs. The conversation's one thing, but if it's just making dog faces, because dogs, they're kind of expressive, but the faces in this, the artists did a really good job kind of making them human-ish, but they're still dogs. Like, I love this panel right here. I don't know if it'll capture it. Let's see if it comes through.
Yeah, I was really lucky. He's got a great balance between having the dogs with expressions, but not too much where it kind of like, a dog can't, move its eyebrows like that. So he keeps it very much grounded, but still where you can understand what the dogs are, the meaning behind what they're doing just by the way they, talk or express themselves.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, even this splash page right here, you can tell Buck is concerned, but it's not outside the realm of a dog's expression capability.
Yeah, he's still got the flappy gums going, or whatever these are called.
The jowl.
Yeah.
My dog anatomy is brushed up on it.
Yeah, it takes this real special artist, I think, to be able to do that. And I was lucky enough that his art's just really pops, and people have really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it looks great. How long is the story set up for? Do you have a format to an actual end to the series, or are you just sort of running to see how long you want to tell stories about these dogs?
So the first storyline in all will be 10 issues, and then with any luck, if people keep buying them and enjoying them, then it will go probably 50 more issues to tell the full story.
Cool.
Nice.
And in regard to that, this is issue 5, and it's already funded, and you're getting picked up. You're doing very well. I've seen a lot of other books out there that I think are also really, well written, well drawn, colored, all of that are not having this kind of success. Is there a secret? Anything beyond just, nope, I got the right story and hard work and all that? Is there something, because obviously we talk to a lot of indie creators, any wisdom you can impart in terms of, this is something I did marketing wise where I really saw numbers change?
Honestly, every campaign is a fight.
Okay.
You never can rest on. At least I can't rest on my laurels. I'm always trying to hustle to get people to check out the book because at the end of the day, they don't know me from Adam. I'm asking them, to check out my book without being a major name in the comic book industry. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I want to be. That's what I'm working towards. So I don't. The only secrets I would say was just go to Comic Cons and get an email list. It's basically all about hustling.
Okay, I was going to ask if you were doing the cons, and I guess the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much have to if you want to get your name out there.
So how many cons a year would you do? Is it like 4, or you aim for like 1 a month? What's that schedule look like?
Um,
Got your back.
yeah, I would just say keep going to cons and get an email list. That's kind of the only thing advice I can give. I'm not, like some of these other guys that get 400-600 people to back them. I'm still growing, my readership.
I was curious how often you go to cons. Do you stay kind of local, or do you travel nationally? Do you try to do 1 a month or 2 a year, or what's your schedule?
I try to do 1 a month, but I don't travel too far because once you pay for a hotel, pay for gas, you're not making any money yet. So
Oh, for sure.
right now I try to stay in Michigan, northern Ohio, northern Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, northern Indiana. I'll be at Indiana's Heroes Con there in Elkhart, Indiana. Here, I'll be at Fantastic Con in actually March in Toledo, Ohio.
Nice.
Very cool. Do you advertise in any unusual places? Obviously, you have a product that is dog centric. So, do you reach out to like pit bull shelters or go to those like, hey, I got a book that can you guys put a couple in here? Because this is like people like dogs will shop here and they're going to see a dog book. And maybe is that something you've looked into as well?
That's something I'm looking into. I haven't really done that. I've kind of reached out to a few pit bull, lover groups and told them about the story and got a little bit of positive feedback from it. But at the most part, it's still something I'm just kind of concentrating on the indie comic scene for now, and then hopefully can branch out more.
Gotcha.
So, as far as the story goes, this evil organization I noticed here, BlackRock,
Yeah.
is that a little bit of a wink and nod, I guess?
Not as much as people think. I mean, because when I first wrote it, I wrote it like 5 years ago before it got published. So BlackRock really wasn't, they were kind of not as nefariously known as they are now. It just kind of, but it plays into BlackRock more is there's an island that the mercenaries live on that's uncharted, and that island is Black Rock because it was a volcanic island. So that's kind of more where the name came from. And it was just coincidence that it's also aligned with this group now that everybody's been talking about.
Oh, I guess it's just naturally,
Accidental
a good
prophecy.
name for a good name for an evil corporation, I guess.
Yeah, it was totally not meaning to do that. Now everybody thinks I'm, have some kind of vendetta against the Black Rock, and it's like, well, it's just literally just a coincidence.
As the age range, I always like to ask, the trailer in the first book, there's some blood in there and things of that nature. But for the age range, is this something that you could hand to, my 6-year-old nephew or something of that? Or is it more like for the teens? Is the barrier for entry? Obviously, it's up to the parents, but just, basic standard kind of things.
Yeah, it's more preteen, I would say, because there's no swear words, there's no nudity, but there is definitely violence. The dog gets shot, but he can heal instantly. So it's probably a lot for kids to see a dog get shot. And that's about with anybody really. But the dog can, heal from any wound. So while he gets hurt, he can also heal from it.
Gotcha. And your other books out here as well. You got Dime Store Detective. Are those similar where it's preteen, or are those a little bit more mature?
Yeah, those are more mature. There is nudity in that one, but it's only, a female's butt, and it does deal with serial killers. So there's swear words in that too. So that's not really kid friendly. That's definitely more for teens and above.
Okay, and what about space cruising? Where would you put that? Is that T for teen or is that M for mature? E for everyone? Where would that fall in?
I'm sorry, what about what?
Space cruising. What is that one in terms of
Oh,
rating? Who would that be?
Oh, that can be for kids. That's a sci-fi kind of buddy comedy. These three outcasts, Bushido warrior, an enhanced human, an alien who loves pop culture. He wears a cowboy hat, World War II bomber jacket, and this obsolete android all come together to try to make a buck in the galaxy selling human artifacts. But from us, what we would think is as a treasure, like gold bullion. With them, it's like, toilet plungers and stuff like that they think are treasures, to an alien race thousands of years in advance. So it's got a lot of comedy. It's a lot of fun story in itself, just much different than the other ones. And I kind of try to pride myself on making really original indie comics.
I was gonna say you got 3 different offerings here that it's sort of like maybe if Alpha Dogs isn't, you're not sure about it, but you're like, oh well, space cruising sounds cool and I can read that with my kid. Or maybe you got a teen and maybe Alpha Dogs is perfect for that. And then you're like, I kind of want something for myself. I'll get the more mature books. When you're here, you pick up one, you can just might as well grab all 3 while you're at it,
Yeah, I mean, I promise that once you read any of them, you're going to enjoy them. People have really, I've had over 60% of people come back for the next issue. So that's, I think, a pretty good track record in the Kickstarter community. Just about 50% come back. So the fact that I've been able to get people is cool.
Yeah, I will say whenever I first saw this, I'm like, there's talking dogs, they have superpowers. Like, I don't know if this is for me. And I actually really enjoyed the first issue. I was surprised because I was expecting to be like, it was fine, but I had my own personal taste.
Oh, yeah.
To get in the way. And I enjoyed it more than I expected. So I think for anybody that's looking at this and has those reservations, I'd say take the plunge. I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised like I was.
Yeah, I mean, in issue one is always the most difficult one to write because you're setting up this whole world. You don't want to give too much exposition and, slow down the story. So if you like issue one, you'll really love what comes next because issue one is a lot of setting up this new world for people. And then once we get it set up is when it really takes off. We've got a lot of excitement with, this mystery of how the dogs got their powers, the Black Rock people that, throughout the season is getting closer and closer to the dogs. And then you have this other guy with his revenge plot, and he's able to make his own dogs with their incredible gifts, and they have to try to escape before they're taken to a lab. And we'll see how that unfolds as the story goes along.
Very cool.
Awesome. You had sent me a while back some of the Dime Store Detective stuff, and I read through it.
Okay.
And that was a cool introduction into your particular narrative style, and it's nice to see that transfer to Alpha Dogs too, but in a totally different way.
Yeah, Dexter Detective is very, very, very different, but it's just as exciting. I've had a lot of, you can get on reviews that I posted. I just actually posted, somebody sent me something, a message, how much they loved Dexter Detective. So that was kind of cool whenever, you get those, and people have shown me that they've got them slabbed, which is really an honor for anybody to think as much as your comic book as you do, that they're actually going to get it graded. So that's really cool when someone does that.
Yeah. It's definitely cool. So was this like always your plan as far as being a creator, or did you want to do something else and just sort of creatively stumbled into Dime Store Detective and then Space Cruising and Alpha Dogs?
No, I wrote my first screenplay back when I was like 15 years old. So it's kind of all that I've ever wanted to do since I was a teenager, and mostly screenwriting. But I really, back in Oh, I'd say when the X-Men cartoon came out in the 90s, that really made me in love with the X-Men, Wolverine. Yeah, I think was a lot of young writers calling at the time was the X-Men, especially, if you gravitated towards comic books, because it was so,
very much.
it was superhero, but it was very much drenched in a realistic, atmosphere, which was really cool. They dealt with real problems. So to have a comic book, you could open up that whole world where you could have serious stories with these exciting characters instead of just this hokey story was inspiring for me, and it's kind of made me gravitate towards that type of writing. So where you've got a really original stories, but with realistic issues for your main character.
Absolutely.
Even if he's a dog.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so interesting about it is you took three genres, well, three concepts, a dime store detective, a bit more on the pulp noir style, the Space Cruisers is a bit more silly and fun and maybe adventurous in a way, and then you have this very tight adventure thriller going on with Alpha Dogs. Most guys that get into, even in the indie sphere, that get into doing comics and that kind of storytelling lean for the more traditional tropes. You twisted those tropes up really nicely and came up with a bunch of things that are very unique. While he's sorting out the audio, I just like looking at these covers. This Hulk homage is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
The level of detail and like the overveining on the dog here is really cool.
Yeah, I feel like these are the kind of books that, I mean, the Pitbull community is pretty hard.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Hey, there we go.
Yep,
Yeah,
we got
you're
you
coming
back.
through clear again.
Oh, sorry about that. Am I good now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh.
Well, maybe not so much.
No. I was going to say that the Pitbull community is pretty hardcore, and I can't imagine that Pitbull owners, of course not all of them, but I think if you got this book in front of, a large amount of them, there's going to be a percentage that would go, this is awesome. I love pit bulls. This portrays them in this heroic light. This is going to be great for, kids of my kids or whatever. It just seems like something that there's going to be that group. I mean, it's going to have that appeal to a lot of people because of the superpowers, but you're going to have that niche, I think, that will really just enjoy it because they love pit bulls. And how many pit bull stories do you really get? I can't name one.
Well, not just that, but dogs of all types, because it seems to feature a pretty broad spectrum of animal. So any pet owner, any dog lover is going to find this interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Where they can see their own pet in it in some level. And
yeah. Because I mean, who among us that has animals? Oh, looks like he's in and out here. Let me try this. Are you there? Now there's two of you in the backstage.
Which one's the real him?
Yeah. Now there are two of them.
Yep. But we're not getting any audio from you, unfortunately. But like I was saying, any dog owner, I'm sure, has been either in the backyard or out on a walk with their dog and thought, I wonder what he's thinking right now. And this is a perfect opportunity to sort of playfully fantasize about what's going on in the mind of your pet. So I think it's really neat.
Yeah, and there's even opportunity outside of this to do spin-off stories. Like once you start introducing these characters, you have a side quest with one or something or a different take where you could even tell a different kind of story but still in the same kind of nature where you still have the different dogs doing things. I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. And once you have that community already kind of built and you have your supporters behind Alpha Dogs, if you had something like that, they'd be like, hey, I like those other books. This is a little bit different. Sure, we'll try that one out. Maybe there's one that is even grittier or one that's a little bit in the other direction that's a little bit more for the younger audience. And if they're already interested, I think there's plenty of potential there because there's lots of dog lovers. So
oh yeah, definitely. Are you back, John? We don't hear you.
I want to know if people are having their dogs cosplay as Buck. If he's getting pictures of like, painting the chest, Halloween.
I mean, that would be really cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be even like a fun contest or something. Like,
Yeah, and I love the shield-ish symbol on Buck. That just works for me so well. This right here, the shieldish symbol on the chest. That's real good. Well, hopefully we can get John back. If not, we can start wrapping this thing up in a couple of minutes. Do what we can. So it looks like he's got a straight digital tier for $6, which is a real good price. We've got an issue 1 for $10. This puppy shot is just adorable. Look at that face. For issue 2. And like the pricing for these books is very fair for what he's putting out there.
Yeah, I agree. Very fair. It's a good deal. And I think even was it the 4 digital was $20, I think, or 1 through 5 digital. Sorry, all 5 digitally. It's $4. I know it's digital. Some people love the physical. But, I sometimes get the digital just because shipping can be so expensive.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, $4 for a digital book, that's great.
Yeah, you're going to get, there it is, Alpha Dogs issues 1 through 5 digital for $20. I mean, you're going to get quite the value off of a $20 pledge. So there's no shame in that game. And I do like that he's got the 1 through 4 graphic novel plus issue 5. It's a really cool connective set. The price on that one I'm not 100% sold on, only because it's the mass is not quite the same. But it is what it is. Signed just for a couple of bucks more is really cool for the collector types. And these variant cover packs, that's nice. The everything digital bundle here, I think that's a great marketing idea because he's got 3 different series. So to do an every digital issue of all 3 for just $40, you're looking at
10 books total, I think.
5 books from Alpha Dogs, 4 from Dime Store Detective, and then issue 1 for Space Cruising. So $4 a book tracks a $40 bundle to get every story that he's created, and they all look really amazing. So that's a steal right there. And then $5 more for Alpha Dogs issues 5, all variant covers signed. That's a nice collector reward. I mean, there's a ton of rewards on here. It's a long list. So he really put a lot of effort into trying to give as much value to backers as possible.
I have to say, I am very, very impressed with the way the layout is done and everything like that. It's all very clear. It's all very all the different tiers and stuff like that. It's just like, pick up the litter on that one, pun intended.
Right. Good pun.
But you go down to the bottom and he explains like this is like his 11th Kickstarter. So by this time he knows what he's doing, and it really does show. So a lot of confidence there.
Absolutely. And each one of these books, are they the page count? Did they vary from issue to issue or series to series? Or are they all coming in that 24 page range? I don't know if I've seen
that's going to be my guess. I mean, I don't know, and unfortunately, he's not back to answer that question for us. I only have the Dime Store Detective stuff, so I can't say how many pages the Alpha Dogs books are. We can potentially aggregate how many pages was issue 1 when you got it.
It looks like issue 1 Alpha Dogs is 25, and I think that's 25, but it's the back cover and the thank you. So
24
pages. Yeah,
Okay,
22,
yeah.
something
So
like that.
yeah, so your average is going to be between 24 and 32.
Wow, so that's a lot of content for the $20 price point, especially if you're going digital.
Yeah, man. We got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, it's some issues with my stuff.
It's all right. We were just talking up the things that we love about your reward tiers and everything that's laid out here on the Kickstarter. So
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on there. A lot of cheap rewards too. I try to keep it as low as I possibly can.
yeah, we were just talking about that. How many do you stick to like a 24-page count when it comes to your issues? That was one of the things you were
Anything more. I mean,
speculating on.
yeah. I mean, as expensive it is to produce it, we're not Marvel or anything. We're printing out, 20,000 issues. So I try to keep it, to 24 pages. There's a couple that went over, but for the most part, they're all 24-page comics. Your standard.
Very nice. Yeah, we
Well, one question I wanted to ask was with Buck, is anybody sending cosplay pictures? Is anybody decorating their dogs yet?
I have had some people do their own sketch covers of the cover. They'll buy. I didn't offer it in this one because so few get sold, but I probably will in the future. But yeah, people have sent me sketch covers of their own version of the Buck, which is really, really cool. I mean, there's some really talented people out there that have been buying the comic, which is pretty neat to see that somebody would take the time to draw a character you created.
Yeah, I feel like if this continues to grow, there's gonna be a Halloween at some point, and you're gonna get pictures on social media. Of
That would
somebody
be
posting with
awesome.
your dog. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's I created him with that kind of cool black, mark down his head. So kind of that Harry Potter, and Cable kind of inspired me for that. And then I wanted the fur to look kind of like an emblem on his chest to really make him stand out and pop, if you will.
oh yeah. I was saying that's my favorite feature on Buck is that the chest, the contrasted chest color looks like a superhero, shield emblem. It's
Yeah.
really a nice touch.
I think so. I think it makes him stand out and makes him look a lot more heroic.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit about the different dogs that are shown in these preview pages because Justin was talking about the pit bull community, and I was thinking, everybody that has a dog I can't see how they wouldn't find this interesting.
Yeah, I think so. We got a Chihuahua in there that's has a heightened intelligence. He's always getting himself into trouble because he's kind of got a big mouth, but it's a little dog. And Shelby, that Cocker Spaniel, is always kind of trying to save him all the time. As you can see from the trailer, she can leap like 200 yards in the air, so you can kind of make these huge leaps. And she's always trying to get him out of trouble all the time. So it's a kind of a fun dynamic between the two of them. And then you have Sahara. She's a Siberian Husky, and she kind of is very wary of humans, and being captured and experimented on has left her very bad taste in her mouth for humans and also for Buck, because Buck allowed his owner to draw his blood in the first place. So there's a lot of animosity there that kind of plays out throughout the issues.
Yeah, I like the idea of giving the twitchy ball of death hyper intelligence.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows Chihuahuas, they're twitchy,
Yes.
aggressive little creatures, and making that one the hyper intelligent one is really funny.
Yeah. It definitely, there's some comedy as part of the series in itself. I mean, you can't take yourself too serious when it's dogs that talk to each other, and it kind of lends to that camaraderie, that of the sort of the makeshift team that comes together in the series. And then as the series goes along, there'll be other dogs that come along. So I think people who have a certain breed, very well could see theirs in a comic in the future.
That's awesome.
So what's the rhythm in terms of books being released? Obviously, this is Alpha Dogs 5. You have 4 issues of Dime Store Detective, 1 of Space Cruisin'. Is it like alternate, or are you just focusing on this until this series is wrapped up, and then what's the approach?
Yeah, I kind of been alternating between issues. That has taken some time then between, the next issue of, say, Alpha Dogs. But my goal is that I'm hoping that once it gets released in stores on February 25th, that eventually it gets bigger and, a lot more audience. We had pre-sales, and I had a very good number for my pre-sales for somebody like me, somebody that isn't well known. I was surprised how many pre-sales we had. So I'm really hoping, like I said, being signed with a publisher now that you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Simon & Schuster, that I can garner more readership, and then I can put these out faster. But the next Kickstarter will be Dime Store Detective 5, and that'll be in mid-April. I want to wait till this is fulfilled. So the great thing about Alpha Dogs is you're not going to be waiting 6 months for your comic. The comic is 70% done already. And in order for me to launch Dime Store Detective, I want to get the readers Alpha Dogs first. So my goal is to be shipping Alpha Dogs in early April. That way I can kick off Dime Store Detective 4. So there's not such a long spread between campaigns and people aren't waiting, 6 months for the next issue. So that's kind of my goal. And a lot of it is obviously going to hinge on the popularity of Alpha Dogs.
That was actually something I kind of made note of, was just how many Kickstarters you've done. It says at the bottom that this is your 11th.
Yeah.
How would you compare like your beginning experience trying to do Kickstarter to how you feel about it now? Have you kind of like, what are some of the major kinks that you worked out as you've done this a few times now?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of always if you usually are learning something every campaign, so there's always something you're picking up knowledge to help advance the next one. So a lot of it that I was learning from the first one, because it was a whole year before I launched issue 2, because I had so much learning to do and some of the mistakes I've made. So I've tried to garner more and more people by expanding my social media, by going to Comic Cons now, and trying to get an email list. That's really important to get reader. I'm trying to kind of get my Substack going so people can get a newsletter every so often and keep in touch, because it's tough to never talk to anybody again and then 6 months later ask for money for a new comic book. So you're fighting over so many dollars because there's so many Kickstarter comic books on now. It's just really just from when I first started till now, it's probably went up at least 5-fold in people launching their comics.
Yeah, absolutely. It's become a big thing in the indie sphere doing comic books.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably, Kickstarter's probably, I would guess, the third biggest publisher really of comic books, if you think about it, after Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I think so. I'm more of a novelist, but I do dabble in the comic thing with my G I series.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I think you showed me one of yours before. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that's an adaptation of my novel series, so it's
okay.
It's kind of a little bit of a double dip.
Yeah, hey, that's all right, because sometimes I really wonder if I should have started another series. I should have just stuck to one series, because then you're having to build, readership for a whole different genre, which is kind of tough. But I can't help myself, I guess.
Oh no, I have the same problem. I've written 4
Yeah,
different series so far.
Yeah. As long as you're not like George R. Martin and take 10 years to finish the book.
No, at most it seems like it's been a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I'm the one that takes 10 years to produce a book. I've been.
I just want to make sure you get it right.
Yeah, well, it's I gotta say, I imagine having a team just makes all the difference, because let me tell you, working on the whole process alone it's slow going, that's for sure. So having a team is just such a huge.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure.
Dude.
Of course, it's a lot cheaper not having a team.
Yeah, well, that's
Money, too.
that's why
Kind of a double-edged sword. Yeah,
Yep. That's what they
but it's
say. What is it? Quality, speed, and cost, and you can only choose two.
yeah, that's very, very true. But luckily, it's kind of I've been able to put them out faster and faster as I go because I've been lucky enough to get more and more readership. Every Kickstarter is gang backers from the last one, whatever title it was. So that's really cool. I'm hoping it works for this one too. We're doing good, but like I said, it's still February. People aren't flush with money as they do. Towards the spring, but the cool thing about Kickstarter is you can back it now and no funds will come out till after the Kickstarter ends and it's a success. This one thankfully reached its funding goal pretty quickly, but people can back it now and they don't have to worry about paying for it till March 6th when it ends.
Yeah, it's definitely a bonus. I'm not as familiar with Kickstarter as I am with like Fund My Comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of good and bad for creators because, it's great when people back it, of course, but then it seems like towards the end of the Kickstarter, that's when people start thinking, maybe I don't have the money for this. And then they just drop the pledge before it comes out of their bank account, which kind of sucks for us. But at the same time, you got to take the good with the bad.
True.
And thankfully, nobody yet has backed out. All my backers have stayed so far on this campaign, which is actually the first time it's ever happened. Usually, the first week you get a bunch of backers, and then slowly you'll see a few drops. But hopefully, I'm sure it'll come. But so far, knock on wood, no one's dropped their pledge as of yet. So that's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like you're doing great. You're over $1,000 over your actual goal. Currently.
Yeah, which it costs a lot more than that. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I know.
That's like the least amount that you can sweat it out to lose. Plus, on Kickstarter, they take out 10% of what you ask for. So, it's $200 that gets taken out from me. Well, if I would have put the goal at 5,000, well then 500, and really for people creating their own comic books like myself, every dollar counts. So you don't want to waste any more than you possibly have to.
Yeah. And that's why, I prefer to work off of Fund My Comic, even though it's a slightly smaller version as far as attention is concerned. Just because being a bit smaller, the overhead cost on their part, the part that they take is much lower as well.
Yeah.
Because Luke's trying to make it as easy as possible for creators to get their stuff out there, which is pretty amazing. But Kickstarter is still technically the big hub of where a lot of the stuff goes on.
Yeah, but I've seen people make quite a bit on Fund My Comic too.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely it started out really small, and Luke's done a really great job with it building. I see people with some high sales on there.
Yeah, and like for me doing what I do with mine, my only hope is that I break even. I'm not looking to make money off of it.
Get it.
I just want to be able to fund production of the next one.
Absolutely. That's really how you got to look at it, because the chances of a comic breaking out and making, six figures is so, the odds are astronomical. So if you look at it, I think it's something that you love doing from a passion to tell stories, and you can't go wrong that way. If you look at it like, this is going to be my $1 million story, then I think you're not going to last long trying to make comic books.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually, and something I've talked with a lot of creators about. If you make your goal when it comes to being a creative person, if you make your goal to make money, in my opinion, you're looking at it wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Certainly not going to last long, that's for sure.
Yeah, the goal is to tell the story. Real quick shout out to a mutual of most of us here on the host panel. AC Pritchard. He had a free promo for his, I think it was Saga of Sunsets, and he hit like over 800
Wow, nice.
handouts on it. I mean, yeah, he didn't make any money, but getting the project in 800 hands,
Oh yeah.
that's an achievement in and of itself. So I had to bring that up, because as a storyteller, you want people to read your story.
Yeah, and I'm sure
That's what it's
by
about.
doing that, he's going to get a lot of people coming back for the next one. So it's probably a very good business model.
Yeah,
It was a pretty genius move.
His book, Mortal Descent, book 1 of the Arcade Chronicles. It's like a combination of 3 short stories.
Yeah,
and then he's hoping that people read that, they enjoy it, and then his comic, Saga of Sunsets, is one of those 3 stories converted into comic form. But yeah, 850. I mean, you're giving it away for free, but that's in a lot of hands,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely about eyeballs, not cash.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
if
if you
you
get-
music and finding ears, it's even way less of an investment. Sitting down to read a book takes you, 8 hours on the low end, maybe. Music,
Yeah.
it's like, just push play for like 10 seconds, see if you like it. And people are like, nah, I don't know. It's like, So
Yeah, if he gets
that's great
just
for him.
25% of those people back, then I think he would break even. If he got just 25% of the 800, I think he'd probably come pretty close to breaking even on his next one, and then hopefully he gets bigger and bigger and can start making money. So.
And I've seen a lot of guys that are successful at doing this at some point in their production career. They go back to the first issue and make it as incredibly cheap as they possibly feel they can afford to.
Yeah.
Maybe not free, but for like $1 for a couple of weeks as a low entry fee gateway to the rest of the series. And that's genius level, when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, I think with issues
impact
3, I think with issue 3, I was letting people get the digital download for free of issue 1 with a hope that they would come back. And, even if it works half the time, you're not losing anything because they wouldn't have backed it anyway. So I might do that again down the road, give issue 1 digital download for free.
Yeah, I think it's a good marketing strategy.
Yeah,
and,
issue 1 isn't all that great.
Yeah, and let me know if it works, because I'm always interested in that information, so we can pass it on to other creators. Help as many great stories like Alpha Dogs, get as much traction as they possibly can.
Any little bit helps, because it's mostly just you and your ability to reach out to people, which is tough, especially when you're in very populated waters, with the Kickstarter field being the dearth that it is. So it's tough to stand out, and hopefully Alpha Dogs does. I think if people just give it a chance to really enjoy it, like I said, it got a publisher, which only 2% of comics do get publishers, so I swear it's a good comic if you just give it a read. And Dexter Detective is just as good, just a totally different story. With Dexter Detective, I tell people, if you like Stephen King's if you like True Detective, if you like crime, noir, mystery, supernatural stories, then you'd really enjoy Dexter Detective.
Yeah, I have to give Dexter Detective a thumbs up. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, people have really liked it. I've had so many people, because it was my last Kickstarter. I've got so many people wrote to me. Like I said, just posted something. Somebody wrote to me saying how much they enjoy it and when am I coming out with a new one. So the cool thing about Dexter Detective, it's going to be coming out in April. So there's not going to be that long gap in between stories. So you can get every single one of them. I have a digital download for only $40. You can get all 4 issues of Dexter Detective, all 5 issues of Alpha Dogs, and issue 1 of Space Cruising for only $40. That's what, 200 pages of comic book for only $40.
Yep. This tier right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd encourage people, if you don't have a lot of money, like most of us don't, that'd be a great tier for you. But if you want, personally, I like having the comic book in my hands, so there's a tier for that. And like I said, for only $40 you can get, or $50 you can get all 5 issues of Alpha Dogs. So I discounted that by a decent amount compared to when they first come out.
Mm-hmm. That's good. We're at the wrap up point, guys. Do you have any last questions for John?
Actually, I got
can-
one. Obviously, you have a little bit of a comic book background. Have you read any good comics recently? Do you still kind of pick them up
Oh
and
yeah.
see what the competition's doing, or see what your favorites are
question.
doing? And do you have any? I know we're selling your book, but I'm always curious who else is out there. You know.
Yeah, so I primarily only read Image comics. I haven't read a Marvel or DC comic in, oh my goodness, it's been a long time. I just kind of, as I've gotten older, have gravitated more towards Image. So Ed Brubaker, anything of his, I love reading. If you like Ed Brubaker, then you would definitely like Dumpster Detective. It's got that hard-boiled, noir style to that comic is Brubaker does with his. I like Brian K. Vaughan a lot. I try to read different authors just to kind of get a perspective. You don't want to get stuck in one genre. So I'm trying to work my way through Invisibles by Grant Morrison. It's not really my bag. I'm struggling through it. I don't know if you guys have ever read it, but it's different. So it's been a little struggle for that one. And then I'm reading Planetary, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Any,
As far
any
as
indies falling into the lineup?
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to ask.
Any indies falling into the lineup?
But those are indie comics.
Oh,
Well, not Invisibles, but Ed Brubaker stuff is kind of. Are you talking about
okay.
like Kickstarter guys or?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
unfamiliar, but okay. You mentioned. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say as far as the real deep indie guys, if that's what you're talking about, I like Dirk Manning. He actually works for. He's kind of one of the head honchos at Source Point Press, the publisher that I'm working with for my comic books. He does a lot of great stuff right now too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the couple that I've picked up so far that I've really enjoyed are King Cryptid. Yeah,
Yeah, I have to read that. I've heard a lot of good things about that's is it it's Alteria, right?
Alterna Comics, yeah.
Alteria Comics,
Peter
yep.
Cinetti. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Doc Blaylock's Damn Dirty Thing is really good.
No, is it?
Yeah, I think you probably would like it a lot because you created Dime Store Detective.
Yeah.
His is more a lot deeper in the pulp noir style, but
Okay.
his main character has some sort of, as of currently, undisclosed superpowers, and the way he uses them is very understated for what he does. So it's super interesting. And then
Cool, yeah.
and then as far as your mainstream style, like I really enjoyed John's long box Heroic Tales with the Patriarch. That book was really good.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy too. A great supporter of indie comics. I need to pick that up. Just even if it isn't good, I'm sure it is. I've heard nothing but good stuff about just to kind of support him because he's been a big proponent of helping indie guys out on his show.
Yeah, and he talked about putting this thing together, and he finally comes out with it, and it's a banger. Which you would expect from a guy who pretty much dedicated his life to comics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprising too because a lot of times I find guys that are big book fans first, and then they write a comic. Usually, the comic is any good because, to me, you kind of got to be a writer first who likes comics. But
Yeah,
that's great that he's been able to do that. Because it is actually kind of rare. Because usually when someone is a big comic book fan, they're like, all right, I've always wanted to write my own comic. Well, they haven't been writing for years and years and years. They just basically have come out, and it's usually a regurgitation of like 3 comic books all in one. So
yep.
But hey,
That
they're
a
out
lot.
there, and John's has done very, very well too. So that's great because he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was vastly impressed with it, and you hit the nail on the head there. A lot of readers come at creating their own stories as if they're still readers, not storytellers, and that's where it falls off the rails for them. But John was able to take his experience as a reader and then learn to tell a story, and then he created a book.
That's great.
That's why it succeeded the way that it did, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. That's cool because he made, I think he was on Fun My Comic, right? And
Yep.
he did monster numbers on there. So that's
He did
great.
really well. Absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
What about you, Andrew?
Any final questions? I guess, as someone who's working on his own comic and, kind of feels the struggle that I'm sure like every comic creator or every indie creator feels, I'm wondering if you have any final words of encouragement here, just a good statement to keep in mind as you're pursuing this craft.
Don't do it because it's a lot of money.
Isn't that
Cheers
the
to that.
truth, man?
Yeah, I'm only partially kidding. I would just say, work at your craft, read different things. Don't read just one genre that you write. I think it's important to, I listen to audiobooks on the way to work, to try to get as many different voices, perspective on things to hopefully inspire me. And read bad stuff and figure out, okay, why is this comic not work for me? What is, and try to figure out what they did wrong so that you can, not make those same mistakes, because we all think we're writing the greatest story in the world, but you definitely need to get feedback from people. And I would say, concentrate on creating empathy for your main character. That's extremely vitally important for a story. And I see a lot of comics from indie guys that, have a cool, he's got a cool outfit or whatever, little cool things fighting, but nobody really cares about that character. So I think it's important to create empathy for your main character so people, really care about them and want to come back and read the next issue.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Well, let's give our final shout out here to Alpha Dogs number 5 on Kickstarter. Highly recommend anybody watching the show, you go check that out. The link will be in the description, of course, so you can just click it and get swept away by Buck and the other dogs. And I personally recommend checking out Dime Store Detective when you get a chance, because it was really, really good. Let's say our goodbyes. We'll restart with Andrew again.
All right. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm working on my own comic, The Blind King. You can find me streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. PST. Goodness, I had to remember that. If you want to catch up, if you want to catch up on the story, you can find it over on the animatedmoon.neocities.org. And I'm really excited about this next part. It'll come out when it comes out. I've only been able to put a couple hours a day, if that, into it as of late. So, but it's coming along, and I'm super excited to keep it going.
Awesome. Justin, you're up.
All right, so I'm Justin. I make heavy metal music under the band name Evaleighh, available on all major streaming platforms. So if you're listening on Apple Tunes or Spotify, those places, you can find me. Just type in Evaleighh. The spelling's a little bit weird, but if you are careful, you can find me. I'm currently working on a power metal song for Lord Otter. I am working on my own stuff again, finally, which is great. And I'm going to do an expanded re-release of Fire Everything. So here, this artwork might look familiar to Mr. Animated Mood down there, because he did it for me. It's badass, and I love it.
I still love how that one came out. I was so happy with how that came out.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's
I'm working on
nice.
a music video that goes with it, so that'll be fun to get that re-released. It'll have that track on there, obviously, and then either 3 or 4 other songs. I'm kind of playing around with how I want to do it, and I'm hoping to release it in May or re-release it in May, but we'll see. I always have these ideas. I'm like, yeah, that's plenty of time, and then it's June, and I'm like, oh, that's not plenty of time. It's already June, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's great to be working on music with some regularity again. So look forward to it.
Very cool. I'm going to prompt you because you have another show that you're on, and we need to be drawing attention to that as well.
I don't want to talk about those this and that. Yes, I also on Tuesday nights. I always forget about those guys. I always forget about them. Tuesday
what
nights,
I'm here
it's a fun
for.
show. We also have a show called The Iron Seas, where we watch a movie, we talk about it, and then we get into indie creators. We try to always have a guest on and promote their projects as well, hang out with them, and get into topics if there's something that's interesting that we feel like we should talk about with the scene and or storytelling. We do that as well, and we also make videos over there just on topics that we find interesting, as well as a book club. So all kinds of things. We have a Substack too. We're doing flash fiction. It's there's four of us, and two of the four are regular authors, and Ultimate Kahuna is also a writer, and then of course we got AC Pritchard, Bat Sauce, and myself. So we do a lot of things. There's just a lot going on with the Iron Seas. I think that's substack.ironseas.com or whatever the order is for that. You can find us, and also the YouTube channel Iron Seas. So thank you for reminding me about that. It would have been funny
No
if I
problem.
mentioned and this guy's like, "You jerk." Like, sorry, boys.
Yeah, always got to support the other indies.
Thank
You
you.
know how it goes. So I am Daniel P. Riley of Whimsyland Literary Coaching and Services. I am an author, hobby comic book creator, and also writing coach through my business, Whimsyland. I help creators like everybody that we'll be interviewing put together the very best that they can put together with their funding at the cheapest rates I possibly can to make sure that your creation gets out there to the world and you can tell your story the way you wanted to tell it. And now also I am the technical producer of this show, the IAK podcast, aka Iron Age Nights. We kind of shortened it down to IAK podcast to make it easier. And this has been a wonderful conversation with John, despite the audio issues that we had. And I'm looking forward to keeping this rig rolling because this was really cool. I want to get more creators from various genres into this. There will be a link to the forum. So if you have something that's coming out this year, I encourage you to fill out that form so that we can maybe get you on the show. Thanks for coming to watch, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.